Hello everyone, I am Alyan Fiverrwala and today we have very special guest Mr. Will. He is YouTuber and passionate about important cause and he is radio host connecting with audience through the airwaves. Will is a multi-talent individual renowned for this impactful presence on YouTube where he craft engaging content. So hello sir, how are you?
I am doing very, very well. Half of the world lives off of $2 a day, and I've enjoyed more than $2 worth of my share today. So comparatively, I'm doing pretty damn good. How about yourself, sir?
Oh, that's wonderful. I am also good. So, first of all, thank you so much for giving me your time for the interview. Thank you so much for coming in my show.
My pleasure. It's an honor, and I'm I really admire uh, your your friend there, RehanAllahwala. He's doing an amazing job across the world, helping people out. He's done a lot for poverty and reaching people throughout the world. So anything that's involved with RehanAllahwala is something that I will gladly join.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, before moving on the question, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a dude. I live out here in the U.S. I'm from Rhode Island, and in high school and shortly after high school, I thought everything was pretty much normal. Everything was the way they taught me in the news and in my textbooks. But shortly after high school, I found out that there were a lot of things I wasn't taught in school. There were a lot of things that had a great gravity to them and a large effect that I was never taught about. I was never taught about the Black Wall Street massacre. I was never taught about uh, the fact that three buildings fell on 9/11, and one of them was never even hit by a plane. I was never taught about the intricacies of fractional reserve banking. I was never taught about the imperialistic tendencies of the United States and how they love to go and either militaristically or economically destabilize a country and take it over. So I was unaware of all of those things. And once I started becoming aware of them, then I did my research for a couple years to make sure what I was seeing was actually factually correct. Because I don't take anything at face value. I want to do my own homework and make sure what I'm seeing is in fact correct. And once I found out that yes, there was a third building that fell on 9/11 that wasn't mentioned in the official 9/11 commission, and it didn't get hit by a plane. And once I found out yes, there is a group called Bilderberg where the royal family of England, the royal family of the Netherlands, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and Nazis get together and plan out world events. Yes, the fractional reserve banking system is illegal. It's immoral. It's against the Constitution here in the United States. Once I found those things out for sure, then it became my duty to inform the fellow man, woman, trans, however you identify. It became my responsibility to do so. And since that time, I've done anything and everything within my power that has been at least somewhat positive and nonviolent to try to bring a more altruistic world into place.
Wow, that's really awesome introduction. Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. So, my first question in screen: how did you first get started on your journey as a YouTuber, and what inspired you to create content?
Yeah, so YouTube kind of started as an afterthought. It really first started when I found out the truth about 9/11 and the truth about the Federal Reserve banking system and also the truth about Bilderberg Group and the Bohemian Grove. For anybody that doesn't know, what if I told you, Alyan, that in the United States, our presidents will sometimes meet in secret and they'll have gay male prostitutes shipped in and they'll dress up like KKK members and they'll carry torches and they'll do a mock sacrifice in front of an owl. You would think I'm crazy, right? But it's actually true. It's actually true. There's photographs, there's news reportings. Uh, Everyone from Henry Kissinger to Dwight Eisenhower to the Bush family to Ronald Reagan's been in there doing weird stuff. So once I found this out, I was like, okay, I have to do something about this. And then I started my presence on YouTube. It was after a while. First, I started doing some protests. Then I started sharing information on social media, quotes, links. But then after a while, I realized, hey, I have to start getting out here doing this myself. I was lucky enough to be asked to do a radio show, a very small local radio show here. And I figured I might as well put it up on YouTube while I'm doing it anyways. And since then, I've done a few other radio shows, and I've also expanded what I do on YouTube as well. But the main reason I'm on YouTube in the first place is not because I'm unboxing kittens or trying to do anything trivial. It's because I'm there because people are there, and I want to warn them about the ills of society, and I want to see if I can wake them up and we can do something together non-violently to kind of change and rectify the current situation we got going on.
Okay, all right. So, can you tell us about some most memorable moment or experience you have had on YouTube?
Sure. Yeah. Some of the most fun experiences I've had on YouTube have been interviewing Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece, have been interviewing people like John McAfee, have been interviewing people like Jordan Maxwell, Fritz Springmeier, Doc Marquis. I've been fortunate enough to be able to confront and question Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton a few times. I've on YouTube, I've confronted our president here, going viral on that. I've been able to confront a good number of politicians, a good number of corrupt police officers. But the most special things to me is when I'm able to sit down with somebody I truly admire in an interview and I'm able to pick their brain. Somebody like a CIA whistleblower, John Kiriakou, or U.S. diplomat, J. Michael Springman, because these people are truly remarkable, earth shattering people who have changed the course of human history. And they're so not only smart and not only capable, but they're so courageous because what they've done is despite society pressuring them to do something wrong and it's so easy to do the wrong thing, but they stood their ground and did the right thing no matter what the personal cost to them. And that I believe is the most admirable thing that one can do. So to me, the most memorable moments are being able to talk to some of these individuals, and some of them are regular people too that aren't from that aren't a diplomat. Just 2 weeks ago, I was so inspired to interview a friend of mine who wrote the book called Kicking Asperger's. Everyone go check out the book. It's available. Kicking Asperger's, Kicking Asperger's. If you don't know, Asperger's is something that's in the DSM-5, and it's a quote unquote learning disability. And this gentleman, and people with Asperger's are known to be somewhat socially awkward, but this gentleman is brave enough to get out there, tell his story, tell what happened to him, and by extension, make a difference. And then the very next week, I had somebody else who was on the autism spectrum say, you know, that guy inspired me so much. I'm going to get out there and do things. And so just talking to people, regardless of their background, but just amazing people based on the content of the character is definitely the most rewarding thing I'm able to do with my YouTube channel. Great question.
Thank you so much for this wonderful answer. So, could you share some example of specific initiative for campaign you have been involved as an activist?
Yeah, so one of my biggest things has been here in Rhode Island. It's called DCYF, and that stands for the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And these are the people responsible. In other states, it's called CPS, or Child Protective Services, or DCF, Department of Children and Families. Different states, different acronyms. The point is, in every state, all 50 states of the United States, they are tasked with protecting the most vulnerable and innocent people in our society, our children. And the story goes, we pay them tax money, right? So they protect the kids when the kids get abused, get lost, or go missing, or they have bad parents or people that are abusing them or doing bad things. So they're supposed to be the people that we pay our taxes to protect our children. Well, unfortunately, they end up losing more children than the bad parents. they end up abusing more children than the bad parents. More kids die in their custody than the bad parents. So DCYF is something that I've worked heavily on. I've also worked with a number of people about First Amendment rights, also Second Amendment rights. I've also done a number of park cleanups, of cleaning up the streets. We've done a number of food drives, giveaways. Uh, we've protested the Federal Reserve banking system. One of my favorite topics to bring up, which I brought up earlier here, is almost every single year, with the exception of last year, I'm either going to be in New York City or I'm going to be in another city, and we're going to have a rally about 9/11 truth. A lot of people don't know that a third building fell that day in New York City, and it was never ever hit by a plane. Since the beginning, since human beings started constructing things with steel, no building has ever collapsed due to fire. And buildings towers 1 and 2 on 9/11, they were hit by planes. Building 7 was never hit by a plane. It was over a football field away from the two towers, and it fell symmetrically within its own footprint in less than 8 seconds, defying the laws of physics. So there's a number of things, and why 9/11 is important is because this is the topic I'll end on, because there've been a lot, but 9/11 is important because of this. It not only gave the United States the ability to illegally spy and monitor its own citizens, but it also helped create the war on terror. So we could go into Afghanistan, we can go into Iraq, we can go into Yemen, we can go with the CIA into Pakistan, into Iran, into India, all these. We can go. And guess what? Well, we might as well go to Africa at the same time, right? So there've only been 3 countries that the United States has not invaded or doesn't have a military presence in. And because of 9/11, because we were told a lie on 9/11 by the US government, not only did almost 3,000 innocent Americans die, but all of our American freedoms died. And they used that big lie as an excuse, not only to kill people in the United States, to kill our freedoms, but to kill and destabilize people over in the Middle East and Africa. And it's disgusting. Sorry.
Wow, that's wonderful. So, what motivated you to become a radio host, and how do you see the power of radio connecting with audience differently from YouTube?
Yeah, I think to answer the second part of your question first, how is it different? A lot of times nowadays we have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Reels, things that are very, very short, a minute or less than a minute long. And because of that, and because people grew up on that, it's trained our attention spans to become more and more limited. However, there is a growing segment of the population, mainly on radio and podcasts, but also does translate over to YouTube, where there are people looking for more long format, more in-depth type of things. Me personally, I enjoy the long format because if someone makes an appearance, imagine there's an author or an inventor or a scientist or somebody you really think is cool, or somebody that's really moving and shaking, or a politician or a businessman or an inventor, and you only get to see him for a little bit on TV. Let's say he makes 5 or 10 minute appearance on TV. That's cool, but you want to learn more about this individual. You want to learn more about their story. It could even be a historical person, right? In a 10-minute, half hour, whatever, you're not going to learn too much about him. But on the radio format, I believe people are more patient, and you can really get into the depths and delve into the nuance and intricacies of things and really flesh everything all out. And I love that. And again, what motivated me to become a radio host is, if it wasn't for finding out about all the terrible things that I had no idea were going on, I wouldn't be doing this. I would be hanging out. I would be living my life. Uh, I would be, I'd be doing something else. But the only reason I became a radio host is because I said 15, 18 years ago, hey, look, things are getting bad. And if we don't do something nonviolent now and come together, it's going to get much, much, much worse. And now we're here at a point where it's almost maybe beyond no return. We're $34 trillion in debt. We've got like 29 nuclear missing weapons. All of our freedoms are gone. And the thing is, here in the United States, you cannot elect, even if we had the perfect person, which doesn't exist, you cannot elect them. Because even if that perfect person became a candidate and became the president, that person does not control the CIA. That person does not control the Federal Reserve banking system, the NSA, any of that. So, unfortunately, we're at a point where the things that our country in the United States was built upon, the Declaration of Independence says that all human beings are born with unalienable rights. That means they cannot be taken away from you. All human beings, not Americans, not Canadians, all human beings were born with rights that cannot be taken away from us. And because we're all born with rights, the United States wants to start this government. Why? To secure our rights. Well, we don't have any rights anymore. So our government is just as bad as any other government that's out there. So the reason I became a radio host is to say, hey, look, children are being trafficked. Hey, look, illegal wars are being started. Hey, look, we're $34 trillion in debt. Hey, look, our freedoms are gone. And hey, look, if we don't do something nonviolent about this, our future, your future, isn't looking too bright.
That's wonderful. So, can you describe the type of content or topic you have covered on your radio show, and how do you engage your listener through soundwaves?
Yeah, so one of the things that I didn't realize for a very long time, and I recommend anybody that wants to get into either YouTube or radio or streaming or whatever the situation is, if you want to have a presence online, you really want to study rhetoric. Everybody take that down. Rhetoric. Rhetoric. I hope I spelled that correctly. Rhetoric. Google it. Even if I didn't spell it correctly, Google's going to say, do you mean rhetoric? And you're going to say yes. And you're going to look it up. Because what is rhetoric? Rhetoric is the art and the science of conveying your message. So when I first found out about the terrible, nefarious things that were occurring, I figured, surely if I just found all the facts, listed the facts to people, and gave them, then they'd be like, holy crap, you're right. And then they wake up, and then we wouldn't have a problem anymore. I was woefully mistaken. Most people, according to a large number of psychological studies, do not make decisions based on facts or logic. I know it sucks, right? It would be nice if they did, but they don't. People make decisions overwhelmingly on emotions, on feelings. So rhetoric is the art or science of persuasion. And for the longest time, I was trying to tell facts to people. So now I'm trying to be a little more humorous. Now I'm trying to incorporate music in different aspects. Before, I was only about interviewing people. I was only about confronting politicians and corrupt businessmen and police officers and so on and so forth. But now I have kind of switched up my programming a little bit. I'm doing some comedy. I have a new channel coming up as well on geography. I have a fashion channel. I have an economics channel. I got a man on the streets channel. I got a comedy channel, and I've actually even started writing some music, because music and comedy and humor and rhetoric, those are the ways that you reach people. So I've kind of been shifting that, and that's a very astute question. And I wish I would have learned that a lot sooner, because I've wasted a lot of time.
That's awesome, and congratulations for your new YouTube channels and best wishes for you. So, my next question is, as someone who connect with audience in different ways, how do you adopt your communication style for YouTube activism and radio?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it's very important to recognize, if you're trying to convince somebody of something, your audience. So there's different types of audiences. So if you're trying to communicate something to somebody, the best possible way to change somebody's opinion is to do it one-on-one, in person, behind closed doors, right? So let's say Alyan's been watching my YouTube channel and he's like, hey, Will, I really like your content, but you keep talking about the Mariana Trench. And for anybody that doesn't know the Mariana Trench, and the Mariana Trench is allegedly, according to science, the deepest part of the ocean. And in order to go down there, you need a very, very secure submersible because the pressures down there are just fantastically tremendous. And for a while, I had mentioned like 3 or 4 times on my channel that nobody had ever been down to the Mariana Trench because the pressures were so difficult that it would crush any submersible that attempted to be there. And I had said that 3 or 4 times. But alas, I was wrong. I was wrong. It was a few years ago when I came across a documentary which showed that indeed there was a submersible that traversed to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And I was incorrect. So if Alyan was watching my channel and said, hey, Will, I hear you, I want to talk to you. You're saying you're talking about the Mariana Trench and you're not right. So if you would have came to me behind the scenes as a message, hey, by the way, Will, stop saying that about the Mariana Trench. You're wrong. And here's the information wrong. I'd be like, oh, man, thanks for letting me know that, right? But now let's shift that conversation from behind the scenes to me and him telling me the same information, but we're on Facebook. We're talking on Facebook. So it's not just me and him, but we're on Facebook on my wall so other people can see that. So it's better if Alyan takes me behind in a message and says, hey, Will, you're giving me wrong information. Because then if Alyan tries to tell me on Facebook, he's going to say, hey, Will, actually, you're wrong. Now, there's 2 things that's going to happen. 1, I'm going to be humble enough to admit that I was wrong. Or 2, because now people are looking, I have an ego, right? And I don't want to be appeared as wrong. So then I'm going to be defensive. Or I may not receive the message. And your goal is to give that person the message. It's not to make them look like an idiot. Your goal is to give that person that message, right? So what you want to do is take it behind the scenes. And even worse, right, is if you're in person with somebody and you're in front of an audience on YouTube. Now, let's just say Alyan was like, hey, Will, great interview, but you got a piece of crap in your teeth right there. He could say it, hey, idiot, you got some crap on your teeth right now. Or he could comment in the back like, hey, Will, turn off your camera real quick and mute it up, right? So the best place to have a conversation with somebody is one-on-one. If there's something you want to convince somebody of, do it one-on-one behind the scenes because you're going to have the largest effect. There's no ego in. And another thing I would say, too, is when it comes to convincing people, let's say Alyan was like, well, I like what you're saying, but I think that the earth is flat. I think that the earth is flat, whatever. I could sit here and say, hey, you're stupid. Hey, you're wrong, whatever. No, I'm not attacking him. I'm attacking his idea. So first of all, he's not stupid. We all have incorrect assumptions. We all have things that we're wrong on. Nobody here is perfect and has all of the answers. So instead I'd say, hey, dude, I think instead of even bringing, it's not his idea. It's not, he's an idiot. I'd say, I think that premise, not your premise, I think that premise is mistaken. So in different ways, how do you communicate with your YouTube activism and radio guests? One of the biggest mistakes that I made, if I could give to you, other people out there too, always try to remain cool, calm, and collective. There are times when people will do really, 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 really bad things to you. Really bad things to you. And even though you can be in the right to yell at somebody, and I've done this. I've yelled back at people. I've insulted people who've done really horrible things. And even though I was perfectly fine, it was not illegal to do any of that, it's best because at the end of the day, if somebody just came on my video and they saw 2 people arguing with each other, they'd be like, oh, they could think that I'm an idiot, even if I'm completely wrong, even if I'm completely right, even if I have all of my facts, all my information, just by yelling and screaming back at that person. Now people can say, hey, he looks unhinged. Hey, he looks weird. Hey, oh man, that's you. You look negative. But if you stand there and you have your back up straight, your chest out, and your chin up, and you know your facts and you say them confidently, you're winning. So yeah, sorry for that long convoluted answer, but that's my opinion on that.
That's very awesome, and you are an amazing man. So thank you so much, sir, for your valuable and time for the interview. I hope everybody also learned something with your talk. Thanks so much, sir, for your valuable time.
Yes, man. I'd love to invite you back on to my channel. And as Rehan is saying, I haven't interviewed Rehan in a few years, and they deleted my old YouTube and Facebook because I was talking too much good stuff. So I've come back. I've been more pragmatic. I know there's sensitive areas we don't talk about as much anymore because I know they don't like us to talk about them. So I've been more pragmatic, but it's good to see that Rehan is continuing with his goal, and I'm more than happy to help you and or Rehan with anything that you folks need. I think what we need to do is the governments have failed us. Like I said, the people that are supposed to protect the kids are not protecting the kids. The people that are supposed to make the roads aren't making the roads. The people that are supposed to give us peace are not giving us peace. So guess what, guys? I don't care if you're in the United States. I don't care if you're in Australia. I don't care if you're down in Mississippi, Pakistan, United States. We're going to do it together. We're going to do it ourselves, and we're going to do it non-violently and use the Socratic method. So, Alyan, I'd like to thank you very much, as well as RehanAllahwala, for taking the initiative and trying to change the world and have a positive influence on the world, and keep up the great work, young man.
Thank you so much, and you are very amazing, really. Thanks so much. It's my best interview in my life. Thank you.
Oh, wow, you're too much. You're lying, but thanks.
Thank you.